One thing I did want to ask you was, how did you get your daughter into flying?
So it's funny you ask that because people always say, oh, how'd you convince your daughter to get into flying and all these other things? And the reality is I never tried to convince her to fly. I wanted to keep her interested in it. But essentially what I did was, I was getting into aviation. I was, sharing the things that I was doing with her. And when I was getting involved with like youth flying and youth aviation programs, I signed her up for summer camps like down in Pensacola, the Chappie James Flight Academy. And she participated in like Legacy Flight Academy events. But as a single dad, it was kind of hard. The biggest thing for me was balancing, work and balancing, wanting to do philanthropy and get involved in the community and also have time for my daughter. Instead of trying to keep those things separate, the biggest thing I did was I kept those things really interconnected.
Yeah.
So when I was doing a lot of the volunteering and things I was doing, I had her participate with me. And when she was 8 was the first time I took her flying. For her 8th birthday, I took her flying.
Yeah.
And from then on, it was just keeping her around what I was doing and keeping her around aviation. And it wasn't even that I was like, oh, I'm trying to get my daughter to fly. It was I was sharing my passion for aviation with her.
Yeah.
So she could, so I wanted her to, if anything, I wanted her to see what passion looks like. And I wanted her to see what it looks like to really be committed to something and put your energy and effort into it. So she really gravitated towards that. And from that, the people around her were the ones who were really giving her the bits and jewels about aviation and how to get involved in everything. Because as we all know with kids, I could tell you something her 50 million times. But once you tell her something, then she's like, oh, yeah, flying's cool. I'm like, I've been telling you that for like forever. But someone else says it. Now you listen because that's how kids do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So one time we were at we had a Osborne Rise in Valdosta, and I put her in charge. She was in charge of one of the team building stations, so she was helping with the TLP, and she was there helping out, participating, and she really enjoyed helping and participating. And there we had Civil Air Patrol there, and Civil Air Patrol talked about what Civil Air Patrol does and everything. And after that trip, we came home, and she told me, "Hey, Dad, I want to join Civil Air Patrol." Be honest with you, I figured it was just one of them things that she was like, I was like, yeah, whatever, because kids always see something, they're like, oh, I want to do it. And I was like, all right, if you really want to do it, you can do it. But, it's a big commitment. So I wanted to really make sure she actually wanted to do it, because previous to that, she was like, oh, probably a year or so before, she was like, oh, I don't want to join RTC and I don't want to wear a uniform or none of these things. Whatever they had told her there, whatever other people had convinced her that, hey, you should check this out.
Yeah.
So she went to Civil Air Patrol. She went to the meetings, and the craziest thing was she went to her first meeting, and she came back home and she said, "Well, Dad, they have a lot of good programs, everything, but I'm the only black kid there.
Yeah,
I'm the only girl that's a minority there." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
She said, "I don't know how I feel about that." And I said, "Well, this was kind of a hard thing for me as a parent, because part of me wanted to say, suck it up, don't worry about that." But the other side was, I also didn't want to be one of those parents that like forces her to do something.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to expose you to it and help guide you in the decision, but I don't want to force you to be somewhere you don't feel comfortable, But her response after that was really showed that I had, done the right thing, or at least I felt I had been doing the right thing. She said, "Well, Dad, since there's not a lot of diversity in there, and I'm just gonna have to fix it. Or I'm just gonna have to get more people, from school or my friends to join Civil Air Patrol so that they can have more, more people
that look like me.
Look like me."
Yeah.
So I kind of smiled a little bit, trying not to get too excited. I was like, "That's what I'm talking about," So that was really exciting for me, just watching her see that there was a problem and wanting to change it. And we sit there, and when you watch a kid, sometimes you'll see them through things that you do, and you're like, man, I didn't even tell her she should do that. But the thing was, because of all the people that I kept around and all the different type of programs she was in, it was natural for her to do that. Like, she didn't even, for her, it wasn't even a thought. It was, all right, this is what I'm supposed to do. And it didn't stop her from trying hard. It didn't stop her from anything. And she didn't use that as, oh, I didn't get this because I'm this or that. She just recognized it was something. And so she was like, I'm just have to be really good and get more people to participate. So she became one of the recruiting officers in her Civil Air Patrol squadron,
Yeah.
and helped increase the number of kids, that look like her in the organization, which was cool. And she did that without like alienating anybody or making people feel like, oh,
Yeah.
y'all are causing this to happen. And I think that that's something that a lot of people can learn from, because all she did was increase, the scope in which they did their recruiting.
Yeah.
In Civil Air Patrol, she didn't do any bashing of,
Yeah.
y'all just don't. She just went and said, "There's a problem. We just need more people that are
Yeah.
from different places."
Yeah. Because it's not a cultural or a white, black, whatever issue. It is, a lot of people are just not exposed to this.
Right.
And she understood that because you allowed her to be around certain people, certain programs. And I love the fact that you said something and it stuck out to me immensely, and that was, you shared your passion with your daughter.
Yeah.
That makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
It really does. Yeah.
Yeah. So when it came to flying, it was definitely, I put the opportunities in front of her. When she was younger, she didn't express that she wanted to be a pilot or that she wanted to fly. She was like, I want to dance, and I want to do acting, and I want to do performing arts and things like that. And I was like, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can do that. And she's like, I want to be that. I want to be a lawyer and all these other, so there was a lot of things she wanted to do. And this was just another thing I exposed her to.
Yeah.
And so she just stuck with Civil Air Patrol. She did some programs with the Air Force. So she's done a lot of things where it was, I just kind of put her around the right people and just kept motivating her. But I didn't convince her. Convince would be a hard thing to say, because I didn't have to convince her. Like, now I just have to, I'm just helping guiding her at this point.
Yeah.
So, her goals right now, she wants to be a F-35 pilot.
Yeah, and we talked about that at the LFA event.
Yeah.
She said F-35. I was like, nah, get an F-22. We're the only one with it.
Right.
We're the only one with it. You want that.
Yeah. So it's interesting, because although she's into flying, I'm really excited about the fact she's into flying, but I'm more excited about how much of a leader she's become doing these programs that she's done, because she's been part of a lot of programs. Yeah. She's stepped up and volunteered for a lot of different things. And in Civil Air Patrol now, she just became our squadron commander in her new unit. She's been there for a year.
Yeah.
And, she's running the squadron.
What I like most about this is the fact that she identified an issue. She came to you not asking for help, but saying, I need to fix this. She essentially already came to you with an answer to a problem. And to me, that's leadership.
Yeah.
That's true leadership. And you didn't do anything just super special other than just keeping your daughter around you and sharing your passion with her.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. And all I did was, she came to me, how do I do this? And I was like, well, you see how the things that we do. So,
yeah,
I'll give you a little bit of advice, but these are all the things you can do. You as the one leading it, you got to make it happen. And watching her take the things that she's seen from the people around her and coming up with ways to solve problems, I'm very excited about that. Like, she's a great leader amongst